In this video, we're going to demonstrate the Welcome app, which is the first app that we'll be building from scratch using the Eclipse IDE and the Android Development Tools, or ADT, plugin. Now, from this point forward, each lesson will focus on one app. We'll show you the app in action by taking it for a test drive, and then we'll show you how to build the app as well. In this particular app, our primary focus is to introduce you to various features of the Eclipse IDE and the Android Development Tools plugin, and in particular we'll be taking a look at some of the visual tools that you'll be able to use to design your graphical user interfaces for the apps that you build. Now, in order to demonstrate an app, we have to first import it into Eclipse. So we're going to go to the File menu and select Import. And when we do that, we get the Import dialog. And in the General category, you can see here existing projects into Workspace. You'll want to make sure that you select that, then click Next. And now what we need to do is locate the project folder that we want to import. So up here where it says Select Root Directory, we're going to browse. And by default, Eclipse places the so-called workspace in your user folder on whatever operating system you happen to be running on, in my case on Windows. And within that user folder it creates a workspace folder, and within the workspace folder you can see the different projects that I have, and in particular the Welcome app project. So I select that and click OK. And now I'm ready to import this into Eclipse, so I'll click Finish, and now my project has been imported. If you expand the node for any project, you can see the various subfolders and files that are part of the project, and we'll be talking about many of these as we demonstrate how to build various apps in these live lessons videos. Now, a key thing that we want to do before we show you how to build any app is to take it for a test drive, either by running it on an Android virtual device, or AVD, or by running it on an actual Android device that's connected to the computer. For this lesson, we'll be focusing specifically on running on an AVD. Now, I've pre-launched actually two AVDs. One that represents the Nexus S smartphone that we used for testing most of the apps in this live lessons video product, and one that represents a Motorola Xoom tablet that we used specifically for testing the tablet apps that we'll develop. And I pre-launched both of those because AVDs sometimes take quite a long time to launch and execute. So anytime you're getting into a scenario where you want to be testing apps and debugging them using AVDs, I suggest to you that you pre-launch those AVDs, and you can do that through the window menu using the AVD manager. If you're using an earlier version of the Android tools, you may have a single option for these two menu items, and then within the SDK and AVD manager window there is an option specifically for the AVDs. So I went ahead and pre-launched my AVDs as we discussed back in the Before You Begin video of Lesson 1. Now let's go ahead and run the Welcome app, and when you say to run an Android application, by right-clicking the project folder, selecting Run As, and then Android Application, which I'll do in just a moment, it's going to either immediately install that app onto the only AVD or device that's available, or if there are multiple running AVDs and or devices connected to the computer, it will display a dialog that allows you to choose the specific AVD or device on which you'd like to execute the app. Now again, I pre-launched a couple of AVDs on purpose here so that I could show you this dialog called the Android Device Chooser, and you can see here that I have an AVD representing the Motorola Xoom tablet and another AVD representing the Nexus S smartphone, and I'm going to be demonstrating this on the Nexus S, so I'll go ahead and select that now. I could also choose this other radio button and launch additional AVDs, and if I had any real devices connected to the computer at this moment, they too would show up in the top part of the Android Device Chooser window. Now once I click OK, the Android Development Tools plugin in Eclipse is going to install the app onto the selected device or AVD, in my case the AVD, and it will immediately start executing the app as soon as it's installed. So I'm going to click OK and switch over to the Android virtual device, and you'll see it start running as soon as the install process finishes. And now we have the welcome app up on the screen, and in this case we have a so-called text view GUI component, which is what you use to display plain text, and we also have two so-called image view GUI components that we'll use to display images. In the next video, which we'll start in a moment, we will take a look at how to build this graphical user interface. Now, just one more thing about the AVD before we get to that. If you touch the home button for the AVD, you can see the home screen for whatever version of Android you're running on this Android virtual device. And if you touch the applications icon, you can see all the different apps that are installed on the AVD. In this case, we have more apps that can be displayed on the screen at once, so you can scroll through the apps by dragging on the screen. And here you see the installed welcome app. So once you've installed an app onto an AVD, you can come back to that app later on and rerun the app. In this case, if I want to rerun it, all I have to do is touch the welcome icon, or in the case of using a mouse, click that icon, and once again it will run the app. So in the next video, we'll start showing you how to set up the project for building this app from scratch.